Hello and thank you for joining us today at Distracted by Life. Our podcast is all about making change within yourself and your relationships. We share conversations, stories, and explore ideas coming from our lifelong journey of the high points and especially the low points where we learn to face our fears or cope with pain, loss, and failure. We do this in a discovery quest to establish patterns around our past and understanding whether we are tripping up from our past or being held hostage by it. We work on identifying ways to move forward, aligning our core values, and unlocking the keys to self-awareness, self-acceptance, self-compassion, and letting go of what is not serving you positively in life. A better you is always there, ready to explore in a new world. So let's begin. How do we get a fresh perspective, especially with the difficult people to love in our life? Amal is here today and will share a story with us, and hopefully she can bring us into a fresh perspective. Hi, Amal, and welcome.
Hi, Dan. Happy to be here with you. Love this episode because, I always say that every time I start a podcast. Anyway, I'm going to start by mentioning a recent story that I read about a young couple who moved into a new neighborhood. The first morning in their new home, the couple sat down to have breakfast and plan their day. The young woman saw her neighbor hanging freshly washed clothes outside. The young woman thought that the laundry is not clean, and she assumed that the neighbor doesn't know how to wash her clothes correctly. And so she maybe needs a better laundry soap. Her husband looked on, remaining silent. Every time her neighbor hung their clothes to dry out, the young woman made the same comment that her clothes, they don't seem kind of washed well, or she made assumptions. A month later, the woman was surprised to see a nice clean wash on the line and said to her husband, "Look, her clothes are so clean. I wonder who taught her how to wash correctly." The husband softly said, I got up early this morning and cleaned our windows. And so it is with life. It explains that what we see when we're watching others depends on the clarity of the windows through which we look at. The reality is that judging a person does not define who they are. It defines actually who we are. And we often quick to judge others, don't we? Don't you find it so easy to point out the flaws in other people's lives instead of examining our own life for areas we need to grow in grace and love? I mean, isn't it easy? Always the people who are doing the judging are just judging other people but not taking a look inward, see what's happening with their life and throwing, darts, exactly, rocks at glass windows and whatnot. So we must guard the perspective with which we view life, especially when dealing with difficult people. Others call them sandpaper. Have you heard of that?
What, sandpaper?
Yeah, they call other people the difficult people, or prickly, or sandpaper. People who rub us the wrong way, like friends, co-worker, or even family members.
Oh yeah, yes.
Right?
See enough of those.
I like that sandpaper. Some people use prickly people. Yeah, I've worked with a lot of prickly people in my day, in my time. I still do. Have you noticed that sandpaper people are usually needy people? I did, because I have discovered that their irritation or irritating behavior is often nothing more than a disguise for plea for attention or help.
Wonder if I'm a sandpaper. I don't think so.
Oh, I like the fact that you ask yourself that question. Good job. Inward. Good for you.
Well, it's just my way of getting attention.
Well, true grace and love look beyond abrasive behavior to see and meet the real hidden, to actually meet the real hidden needs that is there. It's easy to love people who are just like us, right? I mean, yes. When people are like us, it's easy to love them. We get along with them and it's all good and dandy. But when people are different from us, that's when we're judging, right? It happens constantly, I would say, at least in a professional setting, I find people are so easy to sit there and judge others around you because they're different. They speak different, they look different, or they work different. They have different working styles. Have that happened to you? Do you?
Of course. Yeah. Like hundreds of times.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe thousands.
Well, there you have it. Simple but life-changing. Are you open to gaining and looking for a fresh perspective in both the people you love in your life and the hard-to-love people? I know you're saying, but Amal, you don't understand just how irritating my sandpaper person can be. I can assure you that I can. And for example, when I see that sandpaper coming, I turn around and head in the opposite direction. When the phone caller ID shows the name of my sandpaper person, I don't answer. Hurried conversation replaces a listening heart. And I tend to offer tolerance instead of acceptance. The truth is, to practice love is an ongoing and very deliberate choice, not an emotion or a feeling. So if you can step out in faith today and choose to gain a fresh perspective on someone you find hard to love, that says a lot about your character strength, grace, and your ability for openness. Furthermore, you might discover something to love about them. And if not, at least you have learned to master the art of living in harmony with others. Either way, it's a win-win situation for you. Thank you for tuning into this episode. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Until next time, stay well, be open. Back to you, Dan.
Well, thanks, Amal. And thank you all very much for joining us here at Distracted by Life. My personal takeaway today is that the reality in life is that judging a person does not define who they are, it defines who we are. And that practicing love is an ongoing and very deliberate choice, not an emotion or a feeling. If you're interested to learn more, check out Amal's website at amalcandido.com, where she talks about her coaching world and links to other podcasts and her books as well. With that said, stay tuned for our next episode, and from Amal and myself, thanks again, and talk to you soon.